Greetings, Healthy Voice listeners. So today I'm doing something a little different. I'm out walking my neighborhood. I don't know if this is going to work. I do live in a city, but I live in a quiet neighborhood in the middle of the city. So you're going to hear sounds in the background, and it might be really cool. And if it ends up being really distracting, I'll just take the transcript and I'll turn it into an article. No big deal at all. And I do have to cross one busy street at some point, but we'll pretend like this is an NPR segment. How about that? So I wanted to share a story with you today, and this is a story that I share with a lot of my voice clients because a lot of people ask me the following question: can you really teach anybody how to sing? What if you've never really been any good at it? What if you've always had really bad pitch? Is it really possible to teach somebody how to sing? And I always answer with a very confident yes, and here's why. In 2003, I was about to enter my fourth year working at the women's shelter. I was 23 years old, and I had to quit abruptly. The stress had just overwhelmed me. I'll tell a story in more detail in my next Singing Through the Shadows chapter about a boss who humiliated me in front of people. It was just really inappropriate. It was actually ironically quite abusive. And I had enough. I was at a tipping point. And so I abruptly quit. And it was a scary moment in time for me. But the only other skill I had was music. And so I began teaching guitar, and I also started teaching voice lessons. And I had one of my first students was this really kind, really enthusiastic, nice, jovial, middle-aged lawyer who I can only describe to you as a parrot head. And I know a lot of you listening are not going to know what that is, but in Florida, which is where I'm from, so in 2003, a middle-aged man would have been a baby boomer, and the baby boomers in Florida love Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy Buffett is a big cultural influence over there. You may have heard the term yacht rock. You may have heard about the genre of music that's mostly from the 70s and of a description of soft rock. So you think of Michael McDonald, the Doobie Brothers, and anything with that kind of vibe. Even Fleetwood Mac can be kind of considered in that genre in some songs. So this guy was a total parrot head, and he desperately he had one very, a goal that was very important to him. He was a lawyer during the week and obviously very successful. I had been to his house and his gated community, and he was it was like in the family. Like he came from a family of lawyers. And so he obviously was doing really well. But his heart was in singing and playing guitar. And he really wanted to play in bars on the weekends. That was like his dream, was to just play in the beach bars, Jimmy Buffett songs and other songs from that era. And I got to tell you, I had just started teaching. I didn't really know what I was doing. And this guy had no sense of pitch. I mean, it was bad. You guys, it was bad. And I remember thinking, oh my God, how am I going to teach this guy? I don't even know if I'm any good at this. And now one of my first students has just clearly no natural talent, but he had such a strong desire. And I really admired and loved that desire. And I recalled my own experience as an early voice student and how my desire was greater than my ability. And that's really what got me to the point where I could sing really well and I could perform in front of people and people liked it. And so I thought, well, this guy has the desire. He comes home from work every night. He picks up his guitar and he plays for at least 2 hours every single night. And I thought, well, he has the discipline, so I'm going to do my very best to teach him what I know, and we'll see what happens. So a year goes by. I have decided that I'm going to leave Florida and go to LA, and I'm evaluating his progress. And I had to say, I was really impressed with how much improvement he had made. By the end of that year, he was totally ready to go and perform in dive bars, or I should say beach bars. And was he perfect with his pitch? No, he still had some ways to go, but he was certainly much improved from when he first started. And he would be fine, and he would get better with performing in front of people, and he would only continue to improve. And so I always share that with people because he's an example of someone who hits a lot of checkpoints when it comes to beliefs that you shouldn't even bother trying to sing. He couldn't sing on pitch. He's older. That's another thing, is a lot of people think that you can't start to learn music in any way when you're a fully grown adult. It's not true. All you need is a desire and discipline. So if you have the desire to sing, and usually you don't even really need, it's not even really discipline, because if your desire is so strong, you will simply want to sing. You will simply want to get up and spend as many hours as possible making music. And so it's not even, I don't even really think you can call it discipline. It was just having fun for him. But he did need discipline to practice the techniques that I was showing him, which he did. He practiced them every single day. And that's why he was able to improve his pitch. And I can't remember about his timing, but it was probably pretty rough too. He really was not a natural musician. But he cared so much about it, and he made an effort every single day. And after a year, I was so proud of him. And that experience made me want to continue teaching. I wasn't sure I was going to continue. I was only doing it out of survival at the moment. I needed a way to make a living, and I didn't have anything else that I could do. But after that year, I thought, I think I'm going to keep doing this because I like this feeling. I like this feeling of helping somebody improve their voice. I mean, so many people want to be able to sing. It is a very strong and natural desire. And unfortunately, a lot of people grow up in the culture that tells them only certain people are allowed to sing. And so if, as a child, as a very young child, you didn't have this fear around your voice. You weren't censored. I've played for many preschools in my life. That is something else that I did when I was just getting started. Played for a lot of children. And it is really a fun experience to be around a bunch of 3, 4, and 5-year-olds with your guitar, because as soon as you start playing that guitar, they start bouncing. They immediately start dancing. They don't have to be told. They just do it. And then as soon as I start singing and I tell them to join me, they do. I mean, some of them I don't even have to tell them. They just do it. And that tells me that singing and dancing, having a connection to music, is a natural thing for us. And so what happens next is it's different for everybody. I remember being in 4th grade, I think, and auditioning for the talent show. And I wanted to sing Whitney Houston's Greatest Love of All. I was not equipped to do that at all. But I'll never forget it was like 2 parents, I think, who were volunteering for this. They stopped me from singing so fast and said, "Okay, thank you very much. That's it." And I of course I didn't get into the talent show because I wasn't good enough. And I remember that really bothered me. But it obviously didn't deter me. I decided I was going to keep going and I was going to keep trying. But I have to imagine that there are worse situations. In fact, I've heard clients tell me about worse situations where they're outright made fun of and ridiculed by members of their family, by kids at school. People will say things like, you really should never sing. You just sound so bad, Or it's like we have this permission slip to ridicule people's singing voices. And I'm against this. I'm understanding that sometimes people are put off by certain voices. And I'm not shaming anybody for having a natural aversion reaction to certain sounds. But I think like a lot of things, we have to learn how to have a certain level of grace and just not say certain things. Like, you may be put off by the way somebody looks, but not to say anything because it's not a polite thing to do. It's not kind. Come on, it's just like downright rude. It's unclassy too. You learned not to say mean things about someone's appearance. And so we should have the same understanding about people's voices. And plus, I could go off on a side rant here, but I'll probably just wrap it up soon. But just to close this tangent, our ideas about music has been shaped by industrialization. The music industry has really programmed us to believe that only certain people are worthy of singing, when that's not true. And I'm not saying that it's not true because I want it to be not true. You can go back and look up the music that existed in ancient cultures. You can look up the history of singing. Even in the Western culture, you will go back and see that it's directly connected to the spiritual experiences. For example, in Western culture in Europe, if you take a music history class or a music appreciation class in college, the first thing you will learn about are the monks under Pope Gregory, because that is when we first developed the idea of sheet music. And the reason why sheet music was invented, musical notation, was because the monks wanted to be able to remember the prayers that they were singing. So you see, even in Western culture, you can find evidence that singing was not something meant to be exploited, put on display, commercialized. It was meant for the body to connect with spirit. And even in a secular way, music has also been used as entertainment, but it was always for everybody. So think about the village at the end of the day around the fire, singing together. It feels good, it brings people together, makes them feel joyful. And certainly I have to imagine there were people back then some people had more beautiful voices than others. They were probably extra appreciated. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that singing has always been for everyone. But after multiple generations of industrialization, we have been fooled into believing that only certain people are allowed to sing. And I think that this indoctrination has prevented people from even trying, even making an effort. So for May, my Healthy Voice community is going to have a price increase. So if you're interested in the community, join now. Anybody who's in the community already, you will not have your price increased. So if you want to get in there at the current pricing, join us. I think you're going to really enjoy it. There's a lot to love in there. We have several live sessions that happen, and all the replays from the past live sessions are up there, and they're great. We have at least 36 warm-up and exercise videos for the voice. We have lots of activities in there that are fun. It's a fun way to practice the techniques that I teach. We have songwriting classes for the practitioner level. sound healing for practitioner. And if you want some one-on-one attention, I recommend the mastery level, because you'll get a chance to meet with me privately. You'll also get a chance to get my direct attention during our master classes. So check it out. I put the link in the description. There's also the voice liberation method, of course. So I'm getting a lot of people at this point who have finished the course completely. And it's been really nice to read some of their comments, some of their feedback. A lot of them have emailed me to let me know how much they've appreciated the course. I'm getting a lot of feedback that is like this. People who didn't necessarily intend to sing. They just wanted to free up their voice. And what they're finding is that their nervous system is more relaxed. They're feeling more confident, more comfortable, and they're showing a lot of gratitude for this course, which makes me feel so good because I really poured my heart into it. I wanted to get as much information into this foundation level course as possible to give you an amazing Kickstarter to your life as a voice worker. I plan on releasing more courses, and I want to do a level 2 for this one. And even I would like to even go as far as a level 3. And so I wanted to get as much foundational information as possible in there so that when it comes time for level 2, you'll feel ready to go deep. So please check that out. And thanks so much for listening. Leave a comment if this resonated with you. How do you feel about your pitch? And how do you feel about this idea of some people have it and some people don't? And what do you think about this idea of telling people that they shouldn't sing because they don't have a perfect voice? What do you think about this? What kind of messages did you receive growing up? What do you think of these messages? I really want to know. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later.